Yo, I think this is working. Let's
Marco's
just
like a
check.
black,
Testing
black
1,
hawk.
2.
He just kind of like.
Yeah, it's working, man. Marco's zooming.
He runs on by and hopes that you can pet him like once or twice. Then he comes on back on through and goes.
We're gonna watch this video right here that I was mentioned in briefly from him because he was on my channel, but he's talking to Reed McClude. Basically, we'd be big vibing, and we're gonna watch me be mentioned in a video by some dude. He's a little weird, but I like him. He's cool, I guess, for the most part. But he is a little weird as shit. But yeah, we're gonna watch the video that he mentioned me in. Praise be Allah.
Yeah, man, I just thought I'd make a video out to you. I don't know, just for what it's worth. But yeah, I'm not really trying to get into it with you. But when that whole thing was happening with you and Ethel, I was just like, I gotta back out, man. Like, this is too crazy. But I just always had like a little bit more respect for Ethel Blaze or Muhammad, you know, because like I was just like, man, this guy is just he's resurrecting primordialism. So I mean, how can Rita be wrong? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, man, it's just such degeneracy, and you're not ever gonna be able to catch up. You're not gonna be able to play these games with people forever, especially when it's hickism. It's hickism. Like, you think Big Shotism, but it's hickism, and it's just gross. But yeah, once you lose that desire, once you lose that love, and you stop fighting, I think you have to become invested into bigotry. Like, you have to coincide with bigotry. So then it becomes like just like what your boy would say, like, it just comes down to a game of attrition, and you have to pick and choose how you affiliate yourself with the attrition. We both know the best possible way to do that would just be to push the red button on ourselves. But if you're not going to do that, then yeah, man, it's just like there's no point even trying. I mean, there's no point even repeating yourself. Like, who wants to just repeat themselves for as long as they're alive or whatever? I mean, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
Well, I don't view it in that way. All that matters is removing unnecessary suffering. Eliminating and limiting suffering as much as you can. So if you can prevent a bunch of people from not coming to existence by convincing them not to reproduce, that's enough. You don't need to red button the whole planet. That'd be the most ideal thing. Obviously, like, I advocate for nuclear holocaust of all life on the planet, but when it comes down to it, like, hello, Marco. Hi. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, anybody you convince not to come to have children to bring more people into existence, it's a win. It's a win.
They just suck in oxygen, and they're okay with it. They just suck in oxygen. And I mean, I've been there. I've been in hospitals.
Hey, man, I'm all with you. It's fucking like, what the hell, man? Why are people just breathing and not giving a damn? Like, they're like lawyers and like accountants for like greedy ass banks and shit, and just like don't give a damn. They're going to a 9 to 5. It's just like, what the hell? But it is what it is.
Stuff where I can't get a cigarette, but yeah, hospitals are not like jails. I wouldn't say jail is like jail. I mean, I've never been to prison, but I don't think a prison would be like prison, because I mean, how can you know what any of this stuff is going to be like? You just have to stand up for what you believe in. So I was telling Brant this story. I watched it within the last 7 days, and I watched these videos from like a guy in my home state, Virginia, and he did like 8 years in prison, and so he does a show he does a show, and I'll just go over it. But so he does like prison shows and stuff. So he shows trials, and he showed this one trial of this like underage girl. I wasn't into the whole thing, but I was just like, like she was like an underage girl, and she killed her dad, and I think she killed her brother for molesting her. And so she has her speech, and she gets up and they're like, oh yeah, she's guilty. Like the officer like next to her is like, this girl's gotta go. Like she's not getting into it. She doesn't have any mental problems. She's just a psycho. Like she's just a straight killer. So it's stupid. It was like, I mean, it was so sick and twisted the way they called her like a sane killer. And then like her sentence was, I mean, I swear to God, I heard her sentence was like a year or something. But I don't know if I was hearing that right, because I think she was being sentenced like into something, because she was like underage. So I think she was being sentenced for a year like in juvenile detention, and then she was going to go to prison after that or something. But like, I mean, her whole life was ruined. Like I watched this 20-minute speech of her like on trial, and this is recent. This is like within the last 7 days, so it was like a recent trial. And I was just like, this girl must have been watching Rita McCloud's videos, because this girl just off her parents, and she sounds like such an anti-natalist right now. Like it just made me like want to write her letters in prison. If I knew her name, I probably would. I mean, but like everybody, like there's no such thing as like a famous killer anymore. All the famous killers have risen, and now everybody just is trash. Like I mean, everything's just complete trash. Like there's no more conspiracies. There's nothing. I mean, you are who you are, and nobody cares. Like that's the attitude that the first world is taking. So it's like you can't even get into the newspaper if you're, a parent killer. Like your name's not gonna be out there if you're a parent killer. So I mean, not since COVID, right? So, yeah, this girl was just like, she was talking like as if she was an anti-natalist and saying like we won, we did it, and she's just like sitting there crying. She was completely honest about how she killed her dad. I think she killed her dad and her brother, but she's like poured chemicals. She like poured chemicals on him or something. But I did hear the part where she was like molested. I think that's a fact. And it's like, I was just watching this, man. And it's like, it was so cool to see. It's like, even when I see Stephen Godfrey like posting clips about some doctor that killed like 13 babies, I'm like, yeah, that's so fucking cool that we were talking about this. Like we prophesized this. We prophesized this insanity basically. I mean, you just say it starts from Sandy Hook, right? And it's like, that's the type of stuff I wanted to get into. I didn't want to get into stuff like about religion or about like the religion of food, but yeah, because it's interesting. It's like food. None of us are never going to meet in person or anything like that. I mean, maybe, but it's like none of us are really like connected like that. We have such a small like community. I mean, even you have such a small community. It's like it's just like completely worthless like to even try. It's like you might as well just stop. Like if you can't get out of the system. Like I mean, like what Muhammad said. Like I mean, he didn't want to work. He didn't want to go to school. I mean, I don't think that's what Danny wanted to do. I mean, they just like, who the hell wants to do that? So yeah, I mean,
well,
if you're still alive,
it's a little different for us than him. One, we could do street activism in America. He couldn't really do that because he would be like literally publicly hanged or worse. So we can actually have conversations like with people where they can't just like turn their phone off or go to the next tab, and like they have to walk away, and if there's the people watching, like some look like an idiot. People get directly ask you like a human being, like to your face, like face to face, like why you're doing what you're doing and stuff. So I mean, I've had plenty of people say that they're sympathetic to what I'm doing and or love what I'm doing. I've had people say, "Oh, are you an antinatalist?" And I'm like, and they like are like, "Fuck yeah!" And they fist bump me, implying that they're probably one as well. I've had people say they are antinatalists and ethalists. So had a lot of angry fuckers come up to me as well, a lot of Christians and stuff, and ones who are like essentially just anti-antinatalists. Like there was a person who was like, "You're an antinatalist." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Fuck you." So I'm like, fair enough, I guess. Damn. But when it comes down to it, like, there are supporters, there are people you can convince, I believe. It's difficult. I don't know if it's really possible in all honesty, but I believe that it's possible to some extent or another. Like, I have to, otherwise I would have just exited by now. But when it comes down to it, if you can convince even one person, that's one person whose entire life is prevented in comparison to the remainder of our lives, which isn't the full thing. So you can't undo what's already been done, as Perpetual Pleasure says. So, when it comes down to it, I disagree with your overall point of saying it's hopeless to do anything. It's a little too pessimistic even for me.
Yeah, I consider myself very lucky that I don't have to work, and like you should too. And if you ever have to be homeless, you should just not be afraid of it. But it's good that your parents take care of you. Like it's good that they represent you in a way that like they want you to be okay. And my parents do that too. But I'm not going to give them a second. I'm not going to give them a second anymore. I just saw them today. I'm not going to give them a second. I'm not going to give them a second to breathe. I'm just saying, bro. Because for real, I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm done with everybody. I'm done with this whole community. Like, I don't want any of it, but I gotta live with it. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not tempted to do anything. I mean, I'm taking my pills and I'm getting my Section 8, and it's like, yeah, I just have so much goddamn money. I'm like, I quit weed, but I quit marijuana. And I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm about to buy Armored Core 6 for PS5, so I'm gonna get some little free time there. But I'm going into like black chat rooms, like black streaming yards, and like paying them money and shit, and like I'm trying to like promote antinatalism, right? And it's like they're doing it. They've been promoting antinatalism because I mean they name dropped them in them like last night. They name dropped them. I was like in this.
That's pretty cool, I guess. I mean,
But I hear things and shit. So but yeah, it's like everybody knows what's up. It's like so fucking crazy that we even needed to ever get to a point where it was like, oh yeah, let's just create a philosophy that let's just create, like, instead of talking about how we're gonna go extinct, let's just create a philosophy around extinction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think that it's just the time we live in, and if we lived in earlier times, we would have been killed. And I still think that people are obviously going to get killed for their beliefs in this day and age in other countries. So we don't have to be careful about what we say, but other people definitely have to be careful about what they say. So like other people don't have welfare systems. So, but yeah, like it just sucks. Like it just sucks living with your parents, man. It just like I think that's why I truly feel bad for you. Like I feel bad for Brant. Like you guys got to live with your parents. Like it's just I feel bad for people who have to work. That's just fucking horrible. Excuse my language.
well, I just have to live with them for another year. I'm doing it purposefully. I mean, they're kicking me out. So I'm a parasite when it comes down to it because I realize that, hey, I can deal with a little bit of mental torment every once in a while and silly little assignments here and there. But I can deal with that when it comes down to if it saves me $500 a month at the immediate moment. So when it comes down to it, yeah, I'm just saving up for a camper though, and then I'm gonna be booling. But yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it does suck. I mean, living alone with with my friends was a lot better.
But it's like all this rape, torture, all this Gnosticism. In my opinion, they're like they're very sound arguments. Like I don't think anybody can disagree with them at this point. So like you've done good work, and like you should be proud of that. But yeah, I mean, it'll always suck that it's not over. It'll always be so bleak and so morbid and so existential, for forever, and yeah, maybe it was always like that. So it's like we don't really have anything to care about in the first place, whether or not it's for each other, because we know what the best thing for each other is, in my opinion. I hope you do. But that's beyond the fact that we haven't done anything wrong. I mean, we're not guilty of anything. So yeah, I mean, just you really shouldn't give these people or your parents just a second, man. Like, you really shouldn't. But this whole thing, like believing in love. I mean, you can believe in love all you want, but I mean, she better be attractive. I mean, you better be really attractive. I mean, you better be really attracted to her, and she better, you better not get sex regret. Just don't get sex regret, because I'd much rather jerk off in my toilet and not feel any oxytocin for a person. I mean, you don't feel any oxytocin when you're finished, right? You're just like sitting next to the girl, and is it a fat body or a skinny body? And yeah, you just like who wants? I mean, I don't want that. I mean, I really don't want that. I mean, I would rather have like a conscious community that is making an effort to improve the atmosphere of the philosophical database system. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I was occupied by some bitch. So yeah, man.
That I feel like is calling me out with my romance dramas, but when it comes down to it, he's definitely right. But I think if you can find someone who's encouraging of your beliefs, then it can be, as Perpetual Pleasure says, inspiring and fulfilling for yourself, or something like that. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, it didn't fucking work out. So, ripper fucking Roni. So yeah, being single is gonna be, I'm just gonna jive with that. So when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, he's probably right on the overall thing. Unless you can find like an Ephelist or antinatalist girlfriend, you're probably better off just being single anyways. But it's very unlikely they'll be encouraging, or at least not in a way that you can see past and see the condescending nature of how they don't really respect like your beliefs as someone who cares about ethics and what's right and wrong and stupid and shouldn't be done, should be done. But you know, it is what it is. Life is pain. Everything sucks. Everything that doesn't suck is a fucking illusion. The cost to other beings. So yeah, it is what it is. And that's Lost Death Fixture. He's a little weird, but he's been on the channel before. He's cool, but a little weird. Rather him not try to call out genocidal thoughts and stuff like that on the channel, you know. I'm not trying to be Charles Manson yet or anything, but you know, when it comes down to it, like, he's cool. He just needs to chillax a little bit. Just you can load off and let everything progress naturally, as Perpetual Pleasure says, even though he would frown upon me using in this context. Anyways, let's watch another video.
Yeah, making a video. I believe yesterday. I want to put my glove back on. So, really, it's nasty here. It's nasty cold it's gonna get and all that crap. Oh, sorry, this glove thing is a little tougher than I thought it would be. Okay. Yeah, I shouldn't be a pussy about it. I should just go bare. Anyway, sure. I the counter yeah, I was doing pretty good yesterday. Off there again. I was complaining a little more. No, it was kind of interesting. Subject's now wet and it's just brutally cold for the next couple of weeks. Jeez. Anyway, okay, the counter is depression a desirable state or is depression an undesirable state? And then he does the reverse of that, which is whatever it is. Anyway, so those are the four options. Anyway, this whole, it's not about desirable, like, obviously in the, oh, it's fun kind of way. It's desirable in the, what makes you a more productive human being. So again, it's just missing the point. The point is you have, look, your body and your mind are two different things. Come on. Yes, you're one thing, but I'm just saying the interest of your body, right? Your body can't think. It's not.
I shall be back. I want to make some beans. We have a bun for this. Fuck yeah, I do have a bun for this. Yo, yo.
Smart. It's not any of that kind of stuff. And it's the thing that needs to be survive. It's the thing that needs to be fed. And it's got the programming from nature still in it. So yeah, it needs to be, it needs to do the sex thing, which is intended, which is contrived to create the reproduction thing that satisfies the DNA molecule's agenda. Let's not go through this all again. But your mind doesn't come up with these desires. Okay, your mind doesn't think and say, what's a good thing for me to desire? Oh yes, I'll desire food and I'll desire sex because I desire to survive because that's all I can think of. No, your mind is capable of doing a lot more than that, stepping way beyond native programming and understanding the machine it's part of and optimizing its performance to what it understands. So, it's not a slave to the native function. I mean, this is like, this should be obvious, but it has any kind of vocabulary. And, Anaconda has a vocabulary. Oh, this water is going to be, fuck. I mean, damn it. I mean, shit. Half of it's created by my goddamn neighbors. They won't leave, they've been kicked out of their house and they won't leave. It's kind of silly that the law allows people to do this shit where they don't leave. They've worn out their welcome, behaved badly, and they're somehow protected from moving along. But anyway. So, yeah, another, I won't go into it, but people are just so fucking obnoxious. Anyway, some people, most people. All right, all. Anyway. Better happier days. Anyway, don't fall, guy. Okay. So yeah, our brain can think bigger and better. And the whole point I've been trying to make, is that, logically, the simple argument. Okay, we know that the welfare, the comfort of the sentient organism is the objective. The objective is to retain as much dignity as possible. What's our prince here? I don't care for either. Sacrifice none of our dignity or integrity or any of that crap and try to maximize the number of humans who are happy and all that bullshit and the most freedom, the most this, the most some sort of optimization of the production of what is called aliveness. That's the objective. It's weird. The animal hopped on top of, didn't like stepping in the ground. Anyway, tracing its path. Not very big, not a bear. Little tiny bear, maybe. Anyway, I was reading about spiders earlier. It's kind of creepy. I don't like spiders much. I didn't like it. They were attacking. They're very aggressive spiders. They had like drill presses and spear chuckers, and they were just really, really, really aggressive spiders. Anyway, it's a whole side issue. Probably it's not terribly related to this subject. One of them had a head like Anaconda. Now to think about, they did have faces. Interesting. Bear hunting season here now too. Yeah, for a week people get to shoot poor little bears, which should be exterminated. The bears should just be properly eradicated. They shouldn't be shot. They should be eradicated. Anyway.
Facts.
Whatever. Bored to death. Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'm watching this. Anyway. I'm going to get back to the video. This really isn't that complicated. I'm just saying, look, we produce value. We want to maximize it. Your brain is smart enough to know it really shouldn't matter how you optimize. Whether you optimize your behavior or you optimize the guys next door to you's behavior, it doesn't matter. All you're after is the optimized behavior. You're just after fuel efficiency. So, I mean, it's like you had a special little trick. Like you invented something, like warbles on a lot. You invent things, except you actually invent something useful. All right. And it doesn't say it doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is take a little bit of time, 5 minutes under the hood, and you get 5 more miles to a gallon. If a person has that, it would be stupid from them just to use it on their car and go, ha ha, I'm getting 5 more miles to the gallon and you're not. No, the perfectly logical thing for the human who actually understands the predicament he's in and that we're all in this together, so to speak, we're all value producers, would be for him to go to everybody he knows and say, here's the trick, here's all you do, and I'll do it for you if you want. So his brain should be working for everyone, not just for his car. He should want all cars to be optimized, all cars to be more efficient, all cars to do better, to be in a better condition. And that's our circumstance. So getting back to Anacontavad, desirable isn't really, a fair word to use when you're talking about productivity.
I mean, it certainly can be used. You can force the thing and say, okay, it's desirable if it has this net beneficial effect. But then a lot of unpleasant things will be desirable in sort of that backdoor way. Is it desirable that people be inconvenienced, in terms of how much electricity they're allowed to use? Yeah, it would be desirable. Even though this generation wouldn't like it, the future is going to really love it if you do that. Obviously, is it desirable for us to create extensive infrastructure that's rock solid and reliable, put it all underground and have it fantastically capable? And we have to work really hard, and we'll get very little personal benefit out of it. Is that desirable? Well, yes, in the context that a future will enjoy it. So, it's just not. So to answer the question more fully, the argument being made about depression is that depression tends to leave people improved, okay, in terms of their maybe things like sensitivity and humility, an appreciation for maybe a fair appreciation for the risks of life, the horrors of them, the depth of that suffering that's possible. It can happen to anyone kind of thing. That certainly gives you one of those feelings that you can be just seem just fine, and somehow everything goes whack, and you're functionally disabled by thoughts. And isn't that horrible? But I guess ultimately what I would argue is that it's going to temper desire and make it easier or clearer that all you're living on is desire. It's going to reveal to you maybe a piece of this truth, that hunger is what drives you, not reason, but reason spite. Okay, it's reason that has been distorted and perverted, okay, in terms of its agenda by this, blinding, compulsive disorder, called living. It's kind of funny, but yeah, I mean, life can be pretty much for the sentient organism. Life pretty much is a compulsive disorder. You are compelled to do this stuff. You aren't impelled or are propelled by reason alone. You're just using your reason to try to satisfy the agenda being set by your body and your psychology. These things are setting the agenda, not your thinking machine. So it's like having a game where the goals are already established and you're just using your brain to scheme satisfaction of the goals. Well, the more I would argue, what depression does is it cleans the field and it makes you rationally find goals. It makes you look for them, real goals, not mechanical bodily goals, not compulsions, but something of real gritty value. And you're not going to find it and probably get more depressed. But I mean, that's the value is in the cleansing of your perspective. The fact that it does in a way blind you to the agenda of the body, blind you to the agenda of the DNA molecule long enough to get a good look at reality and say, wait a minute, this is a train wreck. And I didn't know it was a train wreck just because I was too busy wrecking the train. Another one of the ironies. But yeah, it seems that's the only two jobs there are. Preventing the train wreck or causing the train wreck. You're with they're with us or you're against them. You're with them or against them. You're on our side or the wrong side. Yeah. There really aren't choices here. And such. These batteries held up. So anyway, so to answer the question, wow. I would argue that I don't think that depression is necessary to enlightenment. So I guess I would argue it's not a desirable state to impose on somebody because it is pricey. But it's certainly a state that can be, that's the more relevant terminology. It can be a very integral and valuable state for certain individuals to acquire understanding, a mechanism for acquiring understanding. And so for that, I would say, yes, it's a desirable state under circumstances where it can have profound and valuable effects on future behavior of people. In your case, I guess I would have to concede there are cases where it turns people into assholes, but maybe you were an asshole before you were depressed. So yeah, maybe depression doesn't always un-asshole people. Some people can have depression and still remain assholes. And that probably happens a lot through treatment. You know, people get saved from their depression by a chemical, you know, take a few pills. So instead of having to learn how to live in the world their depression is revealing, they just, you know, pill it away, create a new phony comfort and peace of mind, you know, often at the sacrifice of desire itself, which is funny. It's almost a neutering of a pet, you know, for the benefit of everyone concerned. You get the pet neutered, because if he isn't neutered, it's going to be too passionate, it's going to be too distracted, and he's going to make too big a mess. Yeah. So anyway, those are some reactionary type thoughts to this simplistic jargoneering. I would argue that your vocabulary is manipulative. This is bad. There's ice on the damn rocks. Okay. There's water on the damn feet. But that's better than walking on icy rocks, I think. Yeah, I haven't gotten in the mood to wear boots yet. They're heavy. I'm getting weak and feeble. It's a much longer walk when you're got big boots on. Anyway, I'm gonna need a wheelchair soon. I'll push it myself, no doubt. Anyway, so till the next time. I guess I'm figuring out some water everywhere. Snow melt in December. Not even late December. Shit. Anyway, till next time. Yeah, that's probably enough.
Anyway, yeah. So yes, did another video, talking about difficult subjects. Okay, so arguing religion, it's difficult to do. You know, people are, oh, they're just innocently believing in their little fairy story, so leave them alone. You know, like there's nothing at stake here. When, you know, of course, there's an awful lot at stake. The future, you know, lots of stuff vulnerable, lots of babies tied to railroad tracks, so to speak, that we can prevent. Frankly, we don't have to invent a Superman to save them. We can just prevent the accidents from happening. You know, the mistakes, the errors, the waste. We can stop it now. So we're right there on the shore when they're ready to dump the dioxin into the Great Lakes, and we're right there. You know, we can stop it. You know, say no, we can't do that. Raise our hand, vote against it. You know, that kind of thing. So all kind of important, but yes, it's just so difficult because, you know, people take everything personally. Blah 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 blah. You know, and I guess to some extent, so would I. I mean, I would take my knowledge of right and wrong seriously. You know, if I had a daughter, I know it's not a good thing for you to rape her. You know, so it's already something I know. I don't. You know, and I would stake an awful lot on that knowledge, that it would be wrong, okay, for you to think otherwise. So I guess I can understand why this is sort of a war. I guess the part that's hard to understand is that, you know, I'm arguing in defense of 1 + 1, and you're arguing in defense of, you know, some kind of 1 + 1 = 2. You know, and you're defending something really quite wackier. And that's the real problem, is that, you know, you're fighting fables, and they really should fall very easily. You know, you should just have to blow them down. Shouldn't have to go through an awful lot of work to decimate the weakness of the fable, the argument from fable, from wishful thinking, from I wish it were so. Yeah, that argument should not be able to withstand a little bit of rational conversation.
Fortunately, people have very, very strong faith. It's bullshit, but it's strong bullshit.
So, on with the show, I guess. So, we'll do the usual routine. I'll play the video I made and pieces of it, and we'll see where it goes. As always, I don't know what's going to happen exactly. So to me, it was sort of a surprising video, but whatever. Barriers to the argument that create the complication. So you could argue that the logic, the illogic of religion, right? So I was sort of talking about that. It's just so bad, and it really shouldn't be an issue even to get past this. But you obviously can't get into some conversation about the nature of existence itself without talking about religion or metaphysics or some sort of bullshit. And it's like, well, why should that even be part of the conversation? Shouldn't we have already now achieved enough intelligence to know we really shouldn't be talking about fairy princesses and happily ever after and should be way past falling for that kind of crap. Overwhelm them with some sense of, make them defensive, essentially, where they have to somehow defend some precious thing. So again, it's always about, there's an underlying subject, always. So in every argument, there's always some kernel of bullshit, okay, that is the real thing you're arguing about. So you could argue that, the petty religious people don't give a shit about fetuses and all that kind of crap. They're really just resentful of people having sex without a bunch of the bullshit they have problems with. And they sort of resent the old relationships. They resent a lot of things because they don't have the same freedoms because their God says no. And that's really all it's about. It's, you can see they don't give a fuck about kids that are born, let alone fetuses. Just very good at grazing an environment, okay, and eating. Yeah, so this is just, grazing is sort of this idea of that's the useless life, is where you're just doing you're being programmed. I actually came up with a conversation I had during the week with somebody, just the idea that, some animals are programmed that way, like cows and sheep, when they're young, they're engaged, they're alive. You can see it in their eyes, they're all full of spark, and then, they get to a certain age, then they know it's, it's not milk anymore that you're going to live on, it's grass. So you got to eat a lot of grass, and their brain just shuts down. They just go into grazing mode, and they become pretty uninteresting animals. So most people just graze through their life. It's just this maintenance thing, sustain, and they're just, their brain isn't doing anything but, engineering a path through the little wheat field. And they're not doing much else. And it's kind of a wasted brain. And you don't need intelligence to graze. It's back a lot further than a few 100,000 years. So then talking about sentience and the idea of the feeling animal. And again, these arguments aren't that complicated. I mean, I can argue that you could say, I love my sisters and brothers. Or then you could say, I love my kids. But you also know that all the other sisters and brothers or all the other kids in the universe deserve just as much attention and deserve a good life and deserve to be lucky and deserve all of that crap. They haven't unearned any of that. Somehow, your people aren't privileged in some other way than the privilege of you giving a shit. But they have to earn it like anything else, and that the animals have been so unfairly maligned into a role they're playing for humans rather than people recognizing them as just other sentient beings trying to stay out of trouble, and that we should exercise rational judgment and recognize that those welfares are just as worthy of preservation and protection as the welfares of the things close to us. And it's just a rational recognition. I mean, I'm not saying you can get over your biases. I'm just saying that you should be able to recognize that they exist and that they're not rational and that fairness demands. And that's all. But look how difficult that argument is. People will just rationalize the role and say somehow we're carnivores and we must be carnivores because we can't outgrow our nature, even though it's not our nature. And that's all a big fib anyway. So, I mean, it really is, it's an onerous task. These people are so unfair to the facts, and they will cheat them wherever possible to defend their current addictive behavior. Really sad, frankly. Pitiful abuse of
People
intelligence. I
fucking
mean, one of the first things you do as an intelligence is recognize the things that corrupt good reasoning and logic. And the fact that we have these prejudices and biases, like again, even if you can't extract them from your sensibilities, you can recognize that, yes, I cheat. If looking for a woman, I'm cheating, in the sense that I know I have a bias. I know only particular women of particular structure are going to appeal to me. And that seems very unfair to judge all the others based on some trivial thing. But you can recognize the bias exists. Like I said, that's not like you have to do anything about it, except understand it exists. And in cases where it's going to matter, where something more important than your friendship is at stake, yeah, you have to be fair. The truth has to win. Ooh. There it goes. Kill other animals and eat them thing. So I didn't do that much talking about all that, but yes, that's part of the story. And the part that we are perfectly capable of usury and exploitation and slavery and theft and murder and killing everything they have and all that kind of crap. And it's very ugly. It's very hard to imagine anything of enough value to compensate for that extraordinarily bad price we're paying for it.
She didn't show up to save the day.
So yeah, I saw a little bit of personal story about the sister thing, this, that, the other thing, and yeah, it's just very tragic. It's very brutal for people to have to accept the reality. So the fact is though, it's better to accept it when you're strong than when you're weak. It's better to get to grips with the fact that your life does lack purpose and substance before you get old, and then recognize you have a lot to regret. So the sooner you get on board reality, the better off you're going to be in terms of being able to deal with the solemn, depressing facts. Because if you find out later, then you'll find out you just made a huge mess with your life. You made many more mistakes than you should have made.
Which that it's a molecule that you are.
All right, so then a little bit of the whole, how does the biology actually work, and a little bit of Dawkins in there about selfish genes and the show, which is just a DNA molecule evolving, and you're just a disposable tool in the modification of the molecule. I mean, that's the joke of our existence, is that we're really just slaves to little pieces of DNA, and that too is sort of a depressingly unsatisfactory role to be playing. To be a machine being used by a machine, okay, for even a lesser purpose than what this machine is capable of understanding. The DNA can't understand, but me, the inferior product, the thing that's just being used to transport the molecule into the future, I can understand.
And I mean, it's bad to be a slave to other people, but it's worse to be a slave to a tree.
Yes, so we're essentially a slave to a mindless process that can't evaluate anything. So we're so much more functional than the thing controlling us in some respects. And again, the control is by choice in a sense. The control is by poor decision making upon people, in the sense that they have decided to waste their brain on delusions and fantasies and fairy tales and fables, rather than invest in the truth, as sad as it is, and fight for their dignity, fight to liberate themselves from that control.
The only children I should care about on Earth, my race or my
right. So I was just making the argument I made previously that it's just really ignorant to think that the property that's important is your love, that it's your child, that's the important property, when no, the child part's the important part, the your part is not important. And clearly people can't even pass that little hurdle. That's a very small hurdle to jump in terms of applying your intelligence to recognize that the things are in need. It's not about your cat or your dog. It's about cats, and it's about dogs, all of them.
Your brain jerk is to say, I can reason that away. I can create some rationalizations that make it all okay.
Right. So that's the real problem. It's just fighting all of the gibberish people can use to create fake and phony defenses for what are undefensible circumstances. If it happened to your kids, you wouldn't accept it. If it was your fate, you wouldn't accept it. You wouldn't say it was acceptable. And it's just because you're living in a bit of privilege that you haven't had it as bad as you could have had it, that you're claiming it's worth doing again. Even though the do again part carries with it all of the failures.
Oh, and that got me thinking about people on their rescue missions.
Oh, yeah, so that's really good too. So, all these good intentioned people that torture things to death, okay, because they think they're being generous by imposing life on it, or assuming it needs to live, or in some way, something like that. So all of the horrible monstrosities of medical science, especially when it comes to veterinary and all the rest of it, what they do to poor little animals with this good-hearted intention of saving them, when the really rational, fair thing to do is to, once they're asleep, is to let them sleep. Don't wake them up, because you're not going to save them. You're going to torture them, and they're going to get sick and die. I mean, you can't stop death. All you can do is prolong a life, and you don't prolong a broken life. That's just unfair.
And find some other project to work on. Maybe I can make something out of popsicle sticks or something.
Yeah, so the whole idea that the procreators just don't think about it. They don't give it enough. They pay enough attention to just figuring out what exactly am I getting into, and why would I play with dynamite when I can play with something that, a piñata. Okay, yeah, why play with something that'll blow your face off when you can play with something that might drop a bunch of candy? So yeah, if you're going to whack something, you're going to play with something. Play with something that can't blow.
To have it, don't do it.
But that's their attitude, right? If their kids get raped. So again, I'm just talking about the obvious duplicity people have, the obvious the prejudice, and again, it's something they can rationally understand is just a bigotry, just a prejudice, just a pile of subjective mush. Doesn't mean anything, and they really should be able to get past that when it comes to voting. At least you don't have to change what you enjoy and what you don't. You don't have to hate watching the Olympics, but you really should understand that it's not something that somebody should be addicted. It's not a good thing. It's just not a good idea to create a bunch of losers. You're going to create more people having a bad day than having a good day. Why would you do that?
I'm going to end up like the possum my neighbors are poking with a stick.
So talking a little bit from my personal childhood and the fact that it's why this argument was so easy for me to understand and why it's harder for other people is that the whole getting caught up in it. You get on the bandwagon, you start getting used to the banjo, even though you might not like banjo playing, you get used to it. You get used to all the, you start talking like Huckleberry Hound because that's what everybody else is doing, and you fit in and you mold your identity gets molded to it. Whereas I couldn't hear the tune. I couldn't get it. It just never fit. There was never a good fit. I always felt like one of the shoes was missing.
Razor can jerk in silly, impulsive, wishful.
Right. So that's the question is, like I said, intelligence gives you the capacity to see so much more. And it's still just programming. It's still going to be a brain just jerking, but it can jerk logically in the real world, with real elements, of fact, evolution, not delusional gods, no fairies, no fairy godmothers, no crap's going to break mothers' backs, no superstitious crap, none of this bullshit. Get rid of all the bullshit, and what you're left with is going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, it's a bunch of sad stories, way too sad to be ever written. They're so sad they should never even be written. That's just the truth. And there's so little in the good. It's so weak. Most of it has to do with somebody not drowning in the quicksand. Well, they shouldn't have been in the quicksand in the first place. The goods are usually just people evading a bad.
It is all so ridiculous.
So that's good enough, right? Yeah. So it is all just so ridiculous, and it's ridiculous that these arguments can't be made to people that their brains are so dysfunctional, so dishonest, so permeated with nonsense, so saturated in babble and psycho manipulation by parents or culture. And it just seems impossible that people could be that disabled. Their brain could be that uh, saturated. It just doesn't make sense that you could dissolve that much bullshit into a brain and it would accept it, for these fanatically religious nuts and whatnot. And again, it's sort of a deception because they really don't have any faith or confidence in the crap. They've just invested in being a soldier in that army, and it's too humiliating to change their uniform now. So they're going to run with it, even if it's wrong, because they don't want to accept the humiliation of recognizing their folly, their failure. That they did a lot of bad, fighting on the wrong cause. It's too hard to accept. Something like that, anyway. It's some babbly psycho reasons. It really doesn't have anything to do with, most people aren't arguing what they think is the truth.
What?
They're arguing some psychological crap that
No.
they need to defend because
Which
they
one?
just can't
Orange
accept
one?
that they suck. And so they're going to have to find some way to evade the evidence that says you suck.
You mean a wave?
Yeah. So anyway, that's what it really comes down to. So anyway, enough of the video, I'd say. I did my job, so to speak, and I'll try to do a better job. Working on it, whatever excuses I can make. It's not that easy being me, frankly. So I'm doing the best I can, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, till the next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot.
Pain, all I know is pain. Pain, it's driving me insane. All I wanna know now pain, all I know is pain. I don't want to eat what you do. Oh no, it's me. Pain. All I know is pain. Pain is driving me insane. I don't know. All I know is pain.